Startup Folsom.
So this is sponsored by and supported by the city of Roseville, and specifically, this is the Roseville Venture Lab. And so without them, I wouldn't actually be here today. And so the goals of this workshop actually is I want for you to find that for you to see that ChatGPT is a actually useful business tool. And I'm going to go over a few reusable prompts that will actually hopefully give you better outputs. And then I actually want to make you at least familiar with all the features that ChatGPT has to offer. So a little bit about myself. First and foremost, I can say I'm a dad. I have a daughter that's a sophomore at Folsom Lake College. My son is a junior at Folsom High. I describe myself as a serial entrepreneur. So I've had one good exit and several not so good exits. And currently I do have I'm in a startup. I'm working with a physician that has developed a formulation that alleviates chemotherapy side effects. And I'm very active in the startup community here in Sacramento. So from all these logos you see, I'm involved in Startup Folsom, 1 Million Cups, Startup SAC, MedStart, Startup Grind. So if you are a startup and are looking for additional resources, I can kind of point you in the right direction. And you can see from my gray hair, I've actually had over 30 years in tech. And then my first job out of college, I had a Navy ROTC scholarship. So when I graduated from the University of Washington, I got commissioned as an ensign and had to serve 4 years in the Navy. So I'm going to pause here and I want to just take a pulse of where you guys are at. So how many people here are business owners? Okay, so you're in the right spot. I mean, if you're not a business owner, you're still welcome here. I just wanted to see. How many people would you say are like novices at AI? Or, okay, then you're definitely in the right spot. And then what about intermediate? How about advanced? Those guys are developing code from AI, so you guys are definitely advanced. Maybe you should be up here teaching. So what I'm going to cover today, and I'm going to stand up as long as I can, then I'm going to have to sit down to be at the keyboard, is I'm going to do an overview of the different models that ChatGPT has to offer. I'll show you how you can personalize ChatGPT to actually have your voice. And then I'm going to go over 2 frameworks. I covered this last month in it's the Create Plus framework and the Socratic method. And then I'll talk about custom GPT, so you can have basically something that's reproducible. And I'll talk about file uploads and analytics, talk about image generation, and I'll finally talk about ChatGPT projects. So there's several templates that I'm going to have share with you, and also kind of exercises. So if you want to pull out your phones and do this, if you have a computer, you could go to tinyurl.com/GPT deep dive, and you can get to the documents here. And so this is your takeaway here. You'll have this reusable prompt frameworks that should actually help you have better results. And I'll wait till I feel like I'm a movie star with all the cameras pulled out. Everybody got it? Yeah. All right, so today I'm specifically going to talk about ChatGPT, which is what we call a large language model. And what a large language model is, essentially it's AI that's been trained with a lot of data. In the case of these large language models, it's trained by the data on the internet. There's actually thousands of large language models out now, but the 4 main ones are ChatGPT, which I would describe as kind of it's first, and I describe it as a Swiss Army knife. It actually does a lot of stuff. Claude, it's a product by Anthropic. It's actually probably considered one of the best in terms of writing. And it also has the concept of AI agents. Grok is the one developed by Elon Musk. And Gemini is the Google product. And being a Google product, it has actually really good integration with their G Suite. So if you are a G Suite user, this one has some advantages. So let me go over the different model overviews. And just to show you how fast, so I was putting this together over the weekend, and on Monday, OpenAI actually introduced 5.3, so I had to update these slides. So there's 5.3 that's instant, that's the latest in default mode. 5.2 actually has two modes called auto and thinking. And under thinking, there's standard and extended thinking. And with ChatGPT, there's also the other models is the O3, which is the reasoning model. And they also have available their even older models, 5.1 and 5.0. And you may wonder why you actually they allow these older models. And what it is let's say you created either an application or a custom GPT based on those models, and the newer models give you a different result. You may want to go back to the older models to give you a result that you like better. There's a deep research mode, which I'll actually show you an example, which actually does a great job of doing research, and Codex, which is used for vibe coding or developing code. So now I'm going to have to sit down and toggle. So here, if I just use ChatGPT here, it uses the default mode, which is 5.3 instant. If you go in this upper left-hand corner and I go to configure and pull down the latest models, you can see that latest is 5.3, but I have access to 5.2 all the way to 03. And, if I go here under the 5.2, if I click on that, I actually have two modes. I have the standard thinking and I have the extended thinking. So if you really want it more. On the left-hand navigation bar, you can see this Codex here. That's if you wanted to develop code. And I'll click on it just to show you what it looks like. But if you're using it to code, this is what you would use. I'm just showing you that. I'm actually not going to go into this at all. And then there's a deep research mode. And I'm going to, it actually takes a long time. So I've actually have one already pulled up here. And I have a friend that actually has a winery in Grass Valley. It's a beautiful winery, and he's considered having weddings there. So in this prompt here, it says, I'm thinking about hosting weddings at my vineyard in Grass Valley. Here's my website. Please research the wedding market. And you can see it actually spent 18 minutes researching this topic. And it came out with this report. And I'm just going to skim it, but it even does, like here, it actually came with the competitor tables of all the prices of the competitors in the area. It talks about what the most people, the max times when people had weddings. It's really just a great report. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're thinking about maybe developing a new product or going into a new market, this might be a first stop to actually do some research in. All right.
Quick question.
Sure.
Are you using the paid version?
Yeah, I'm using the paid version. And actually and that's a really good question. So if you find that you're using ChatGPT a lot, it's worthwhile paying that extra $20 a month or because I find it from way back when ChatGPT started out, I would say that I am 3 times more productive than I was 3 years ago. And so that's worth $20. And especially if it's for your business. If you're sort of just dabbling at it, just use the free version.
The other thing, when you're researching wedding information, I understand that it's only updated till about the fall of 2021. Is there current data on the searches that you're doing?
Some of the models have more current data, but the thing is, it'll actually go out. So it's built on this set data, but when it does research, it's actually going out and looking at live data. So you can actually see it spinning and thinking. Like it's kind of annoying because you can actually see it, and it's looking at different websites. So it's actually getting current data. So that's a good question, though. So next, I'm going to talk about personalization. So, and I'll actually go through go through the slide, but on the desktop version in the lower left-hand corner, if you click on your picture, you can see personalization, and then you can see how you could customize it, and then there's also custom instructions there. So, it has sort of the default mode, and I think most of you could almost tell when something's written in ChatGPT or written by ChatGPT. But you could actually, if you wanted to have it mimic your writing style, I'm going to go over how to do that. And so if you wanted to do that, you could actually, you need 5 samples of your writing style. And this prompt, which basically is analyze my writing sample and write a 150 word personalization block that I could paste into the personalization part of it. The problem was doing the personal, so for my writing style, it's a little snarky, almost, it's a little snarky and like, I try to be funny, maybe not the most professional voice. So if you do this something like this and you want to actually create draft something that's more professional, um, you could actually, when you start a new thread, you could actually have this prompt. This is new task, ignore prior context and personalization. And that essentially gives you this like blank slate. And then, the thing about having it personalized to your style is it actually does leak into everything. And if you want something that's a little more like professional, this is, it's called BASE, and it stands for Business Assistant, Skimmable, Exact. And it's in that document. You can actually copy and paste this and into the personalization, and it gives you something a little more professional. But that's it. So I'm gonna just go over the quick demo here. So this is the prompt for cloning your writing style. So I have collect 5 writing samples, and so I'm actually a proficient or prolific writer on LinkedIn. So I've written several articles on LinkedIn, and what I've done is I've got the links to all of them here. So I'm just showing you these articles that I should have pre-done this out. So I have my 5 writing samples. And then what I've done is, it's over here. Oops, here. What I've done is, you see, I've put this prompt here on analyzing the writing samples. And then what I've done after that is I've put in basically all the links to my writing samples separated by a comma. But you could actually have, like, if you had a PDF or a document, you could actually upload your writing samples as well. It doesn't have to be this. And then what it generated was it generated my style guide. So if I wanted to have something a little more robust, that was my writing document and my writing style. And then it gives this like 150 word summary of what my style is. And then in the lower left-hand corner, sure. Oops. Is that better? In the lower left-hand corner, um, I can go here and go to personalization. And you can see here on the personalization, these are different modes you have. So I have the mode set to be a little more friendly, a little more warm than default, a little less enthusiastic. I hate it when it's super enthusiastic. And then the default is when it does like the headers and bullets. So I kind of like that. And then I'm old school. I hate emojis. So I have less emojis. And then you can see this is where I pasted that prompt in that has I'm not prompt, but my writing style. And then you can see down here, you can actually put your name. I actually have my occupation, so the GPT knows a little bit about me. And I also put my LinkedIn profile. All right. So that's how you can do the personalization there. All right, so let's go on to the next one. So next I'm going to cover the prompt frameworks. So if you were here last month, I actually covered 2 frameworks. One's called the Create Plus, and you can see that Create actually spells, it's an acronym. So C is context, R is role, E is expectation, A is for audience, T is for task, E is for examples. And don't worry, I'm going to go over this in the exercise. And then as a fail-safe, it actually asks you 3 follow-up questions if it doesn't know everything. There is another method called Socratic method, where you could actually have the AI ask you 1 question at a time, and then keep asking the questions until it has enough information to do the task that you've asked it for. And this is the prompt that's there. It's an act as, and you can specify the role. ask one question at a time, summarize my answer, then ask the next, stop when you have enough, then produce a deliverable in a specific format. So let me go over that. So in the document you actually have this, you could actually paste it. And so what you could do is literally answer these questions. You can actually fill out the questions in this format, and you can see in the exercise here. So in the exercise today that I'm going to do for this framework is actually going to promote next month's AI workshop. And next month's AI workshop is on April 7th. We're featuring 3 entrepreneurs, and they're going to talk about how they use AI. But for context, what I did is I did a little blurb of what the Roseville Venture Lab does. And I also mentioned that we run a monthly AI meeting for business workshops. The role that I'm assigning the GPT is I wanted to act as a fractional chief marketing officer. And then what the expectation is, I wanted to write a LinkedIn profile that will increase registrations to my event. The audience is for aspiring founders, early stage startups, small business owners. And the task that I want GPT to do is I wanted to write 5 LinkedIn posts that will promote the event. And you can see that I put the URL for the event for next month. And then the E is for examples. And normally, I find that if you really want to have good results, you should give it some examples. Sometimes maybe it's a report that's formatted the way you like, or if you're trying to make an image, like an image in the style that you like. But in this case here, I didn't really have an example, so I said put none. And then you can see at the end, it'll actually ask me 3 questions to help clarify it. So, all right, here we go. So let me go to the top. So you can see that I literally copied and pasted the prompt filled out here. And then it thought about it for a little bit, and it came up with five LinkedIn posts. Then in the end, it asked 3 follow-up questions. It asked me, is the event free? And I go, yeah, it's free. Are you offering food and beverage? Yes, we are. What are the panelists' names and the companies that for the companies they represent? And the CTA, which stands for call to action. What do I want people to do? I want people to register. So I answered that here. And then it rewrote those posts and actually I will be posting these on LinkedIn after this event. So I'll be promoting our next event using this. All right, I'm going to try. Let's see. All right. Okay, so this is the other problem. This is the Socratic method where it asks you questions. So I basically said, act as my social media manager, ask one question at a time, summarize my answer, then ask the next, stop when you have enough information, then produce 5 LinkedIn posts that in a format that I could copy and paste. So I go ahead and put that in there, and then basically I want them to, I go ahead and say that, I start answering the questions, so I'm not going to go into it. And so it asks me enough questions, one at a time until I actually then it gets enough information where it writes up the LinkedIn post. All right. So that's the Socratic method. Go ahead. Yeah, in that document that you scanned at the very beginning, it's all there. So I have it's a Word document that you could download. You could actually use it. And then it also has the exercise, which you could kind of go back and refer how to use it. So yeah, if I were to, yeah, that's why I started out at first, is having those up. All right, so let's go to next. So that was that demo. All right, so let's talk about custom GPTs. So it's a reusable assistant that you can configure with the same instructions every time. So personally, one of the things I do every day because I have my own cancer startup, is I actually write a blog. Well, actually, I used to do this every day. Now I do it twice a week. Is I write a cancer blog for my startup, and then for my friend that has a winery, I actually write a blog about weddings. I've read a kind of a weekly blog. I mean, a daily blog about weddings and all things weddings. And so you see that they're very different subjects. And so I could basically use the create framework every time and sort of do that mechanically. But with a GPT is I could go ahead and program it or add the information where I want it to basically give me an input based on cancer data. And it has an audience of cancer and patients and cancer caregivers. And I could draw upon, I could have the output I want. And the same thing with the wedding or the winery one. It has a different audience and different feedback. So that's how, in my way, that's how I use a custom GPT. And I was saying, you got a repeatable flow, you got a knowledge base that you will draw upon, and you want a specific output.
It doesn't sound like you're fact checking the information, you're getting it and blogging it. Do you ever get callbacks to people say, I don't trust that?
So I do look. What I actually do is I typically try not to, especially for the cancer stuff. I typically try not to use like have it generate a blog out of ether. What I will do is I will look. I have a Google search word for cancer like studies that come out, and I will actually have GPT write a blog on the study. So it's summarizing something that already exists. I don't actually like it creating it out of ether. The wedding stuff, I actually do create it out of ether and I do review it. If it sounds reasonable, fine. But it's not so critical. So I guess it depends. I do review it. And if it sounds like sometimes what I find it doesn't fit is the tone, and I'll go back and edit the tone, or it's maybe not the right audience. That's usually what I do. Um, and I actually in my last workshop, when you have output, your output represents your brand, and so you need to review it. You need to make sure that it's accurate. So last year, I don't know if you remember, but there was an article that was published in the Chicago Sun-Times on the best 25 reads for the summer. And like several books didn't exist. So the person used GPT or a large language model to write the article and didn't proof it. And so it was egg on the face of that writer. It was egg on the face on that newspaper, and shame on them for not, checking their work. So it is a useful tool, but in the end, when you publish something, it represents you, and you've got to, double check it. So in the framework, there's in the custom GPT, I have a framework called Artist, and I'm not going to read it over here. I'm going to go through it in the exercise. That'll help you remember all the specific items that you need for it. And in custom GPTs, there's also another function called Add Actions, which allows you to put APIs where the ChatGPT could actually communicate with third-party software. And so it actually extends the reach of ChatGPT outside of just itself. And you can actually see custom GPTs created. And I'll actually go over this in the demo. And you can see if anybody here use Canva or Expedia. So they actually have GPTs that work with Canva and Expedia. So let me go with the demo here. So this is again, this is in the worksheet. This is the custom GPT instruction template, and this is the artist framework. And I'm just going to go over it in the next one. So as I mentioned before, I'm a veteran, and I'm part of a group called the Veteran Entrepreneurs Tribe of Sacramento. And what I've developed was a GPT to make a speaker gift for anyone that speaks at one of our things. So what I've done is I made something called the World War II Poster Maker. And you see, that's what I called it. The description, it creates a 5x7 World War II poster based on the image of the veteran. And I'm going to use that as a gift. The instructions, A is for audience. So the audience in this case is a person creating a gift for a veteran. The role that I want the GPT is I want it to act as a vintage World War II poster art director and experienced graphic designer. And the task is I want it to generate a 5x7 World War II style image that leverages the uploaded photo. In the inputs, I'm going to ask for the picture of the veteran and what branch they served. And this is the flow. I want to ask the user to upload an image of a veteran, what branch he served. I wanted to research World War II recruiting posters for the stated branch, and then generate options of images that it creates. And then after I select it, have it generate the image. And as far as the guardrail, that's the T, never invent facts about the veteran and do not publish personal information about the veteran. So let me show you what that looks like. And I've got to find it. It's probably here. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the main thing. So to find the GPTs, it's on the left-hand navigation bar. And it's here called Explore GPTs. And by default, you're going to see the custom GPTs that are published on, they call it a GPT store. But I'm going to go up here where it says My GPTs. And I've already created, so I'm just going to just show you it. I'm going to go ahead and edit this. And you can see I named it World War II Poster Maker. It'll create a 5x7 World War II poster image based on a veteran. Then you can see I'm going to expand. Can I expand this? Yeah. You can see I basically pasted what I did earlier here. Close that. And then the conversation starter is, it's basically instructions on what to do. So I have it already formulated here. So this is Ryan. He's actually a new member of our team. So I got his picture. I know he served in the Army as an airborne infantryman. And then it actually did that. It actually gave me 3 options. I chose option A. And it asked me some follow-up questions. I said, don't include his name and don't add any taglines. And it generated this image here. So I could take this image. It's a JPEG image. And then I just sent it to Walmart. And it actually, this is what I created here. And this is the speaker gift. So just an example of what you could do with a custom GPT. And then, yeah.
Did you create that?
Yeah.
And that based off the artist framework that my connecting the bottom directly?
So, the second step is I had to research World War II Army, and I think I said recruiting posters because there's lots of World War II posters, and I had to go back and forth on it. And sometimes I came up with examples I didn't like, and so I actually had the option of uploading a poster that I liked, so that it would follow that example.
So I'm gonna take a step back. So the actual, where you have the option to, the fields that you enter in, the information you want to enter, what is that? Is that the custom GPT and how?
Yeah, let me just start it from scratch because I try to do this ahead of time because if I don't, it takes like 20 minutes.
So that right there.
Yeah, so if I wanted to create a new one here, I just go to World War II Poster Maker.
Okay, so that exists.
And then I said create a 5x7, and you see here, this is it's the conversation starter that I had set up. And it says, please upload a picture of the veteran and state his branch or her branch.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
And so I'm going to just go over to the I just want to cover under the same spot under My GPTs, you'll actually by default see these it's called the GPT store. So you can see Expedia has one, Canva has one, and I have it with Canva here, and let me refresh this. So in this Canva one, what I did was I say, create local concepts for Nigeria weddings. And it actually did some work and it gave me with 4 options. And when I click on these, like, these are like hyperlinks, it actually went to Canva and created Canva. It actually created it and then pushed the image to Canva. And I don't know why I put a t-shirt there, but I think they're trying to show that you could buy stuff on Canva. So that's the Canva integration. So it directly, what I think it does is it basically created the image within ChatGPT and pushed it out to Canva itself. All right, so that's the custom GPTs. So finally, I'm going to go to the file, not finally, but the next I'm going to go over file upload and data analysis. And so the type of files that you could actually upload to ChatGPT, one is it has to have be a maximum of 512 megabytes. Typically, it's like documents or like PDF text, Word documents. In terms of data, Excel spreadsheets or CSV file. Images, JPEG, PNG, WebPs, and you can also paste. I actually love this feature. You can actually paste images in there, or if you have the phone app, you could take a picture and add it to it, and it can interpret it. It has image recognition. What's not supported is multimedia files. So if you try to put a sound file, an audio file, or a movie file, it doesn't really interpret that. But what the workaround, so like what I do actually do quite a bit is I'll have a video, like for instance, I will do when I have a video, a recording of like something like this, I'll post it up to YouTube, and then I actually keep it unlisted. And then after like a couple hours, a transcript is generated, and I'll copy and paste the transcript, put it back in ChatGPT, and then I'll have it like write a blog based on the transcript. So that's a workaround in dealing with multimedia files. And some of the things you could do, and I actually have prompts, or I'm not going to go in all of them, but I put prompts that you can use with documents. Summarizing a document is actually quite helpful. You could extract the requirements from a document. And since you work in construction, this might be you could extract the requirements from a document and put it into a table format. If you're reading something very legalese, you could actually maybe have it simplify the document. And then, any lawyers here? I hate lawyers because they typically cost like $500 an hour. And so when you have to deal with like, if you have to have them review like a contract or NDA, it's going to cost you some money. I don't do that anymore. I just have ChatGPT actually analyze the contract. You could do some fun with images. Like I said, you could paste images, and actually, I'm going to show you, I did some troubleshooting right before this. You can actually take pictures directly from the camera. You could actually give an image to, you have it, provide an image and have it critique your image. Obviously create social media post. You can actually extract text from an image. And then I'll actually show you what I was doing for troubleshooting. And then you've probably seen that like in Facebook where people put made pictures of themselves as action figures. You could do fun stuff like that. A year ago when that came out, I made Muppet versions of my family and, sent that out as Christmas cards. So you can have that type of fun. And you saw earlier where I could do something like this. So let me just go for the demo here. And so there's prompts here. I'm just going to go directly to what we did here. And let's just hope this is the right one. Yeah, this is it. So for my cancer company, we actually had an NDA. We were meeting with Nestle, and so they sent us an NDA and had basic ChatGPT look at it. This one's actually concerning. It says Nestle explicitly reserves the right to build competing products. Fortunately, we had 2 patents on it, so we weren't too concerned. But you can see how like having this, like you can see that this is the output that it came. And just imagine for a lawyer to give you this type of output and how many hours this would take and how much money that would cost you. The next example I have, this is a spreadsheet. This is actually dummy data that I had. And actually, the other thing you could do is you could actually have ChatGPT generate dummy data if you just need to have an example. So I had to create this dummy data as a spreadsheet. The prompt was from this data set, give me 5 key trends, 3 anomalies, 3 actions that I should take in the next 7 days, and 5 follow-up questions, and keep it skimmable. And you can see it actually pretty much did all I was asking for it to do. And this last one here is I actually got last January, I got a red light ticket in the city of Rancho Cordova. I'm not very happy about it. It cost me $500. I did use ChatGPT to fight it, didn't win. Um, but one of the things I did was I took a picture, and actually this is why I thought I was going to win, was that it wasn't signed at the bottom. And they didn't care. But I took a picture of this, and I just, in this example here, I just said basically, please convert this to text. So it basically, from this picture, it actually generated the text from that. So quite useful, you know, if you, especially if you have a physical document and you need a text version of it, you just take a picture of it, and it converts it to text for you. All right. And the image creation. So you can see I kind of like these formats because I think it gives you kind of the guidelines in creating. So this is a new framework. It's and you can see the acronym. I'll go over it in the next in their live demo. So this is the picture framework, so this is the, you know, you could go into the worksheet and actually fill this out, but I'll go through in the live demo. So P, that's purpose. And what I want this to do is I wanted to create a logo for Niger's winery weddings. I is identity, so I want the brand, vibe, and audience. So I just basically pasted the link to the Niger vineyards. And the audience is going to be newly engaged couples that are looking for a venue. Key C is the copy and text. So I just wanted to say Niger vineyard weddings. And as far as treatment, I don't know, I just put minimalist. Requirements, I wanted to be a 1024 by 1024. And as far as experiments, I want to create 6 versions of it. So going back and pasting it into ChatGPT, and hopefully this is the right one. That's the wrong one. Yeah, this is, you can see I pasted in here. And then it created the different versions of the logo here. And then the final concept I'm going to cover tonight is let's go on, is the concept of projects. And projects are basically a place within ChatGPT where you could actually put your chats, your files, instructions to keep it together. And it helps keep the AI focused on that one subject. There's some limitations. As one is you can't add a custom GPT, which is why I really don't use it, and I'll show you why. And there are some other limitations. So if you're using the free version, it limits you to 5 files. The pro version, you could add 25, and the enterprise is like 40 files. So just showing you where that's at here. You see you have the projects here. So for this workshop, you saw how I created a number of threads just to keep myself sane. I put all the threads that I had into this one project here. What I don't like is, you know, I tell you, I actually use a lot of GPT, custom GPTs. And let me see, like this poster design. So like if it's a something normal, if it's a non-custom GPT, I could actually drag it into a project. But if it's custom, like this one is a custom one, a custom GPT, I can't drag it. So that's the limitation here. And I actually want to just show you right before, well, you know, I got here early and my camera wasn't working. It was driving me crazy. And especially because this is a new computer. I just bought it like a few months ago. All right. And so what I did was I took screenshots from the system. This is a screenshot from the systems because and I was getting this message here that your camera is reporting it is blocked or turned off by a switch. And I'm looking all over my keyboard. I can't figure it out. So I paste this in there and then I start looking at it and I'm going through it. And then finally it says something like, look at the top of your screen. There's a tiny slider. And that was the problem. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer. So there is a feature within ChatGPT where you could share, like if I'm working on a thread and I want to share it with a friend, I could share it and it basically creates a URL. And what happened last year is that, so if you want to share a thread that you're working on and it gives you a URL that you could send it to a friend, what they found was that thing you shared was searchable on search engines. So in general, if you want to put in you should never put in like social security numbers, any personal identification numbers, because it could be inadvertently shared. So to answer your question, Wayne, that's the thing is you don't want to do that. Just don't put in your social security number. There is just on a side note. So I mentioned the 4 LLMs. There is so you probably heard of Microsoft Copilot, right? And so that is actually Microsoft's version. It's essentially ChatGPT. It's just Microsoft's branding of it, and it's more integrated with like the Microsoft suite stuff. So I think I've talked to a few of you and you saw you could see it. I think you were talking about it. It's like in your Word document. In the state of California, Microsoft Copilot is actually the only generative AI that's approved. And there's a couple of reasons why it's approved. They have the ability to silo the information. So the data is stayed within an agency. It doesn't go outside. It doesn't train the model. And so just if you needed to use, if you wanted to use generative AI either with proprietary information or personal information, you need to find a model that does that. I don't know if any of the other LLMs do that. I'm actually probably sure they probably do by now, but I know Microsoft Copilot does do that. So that's a follow-up answer to you, Wayne.
Startup Folsom.